It doesn't matter how long your breaker bar is, how powerful your impact gun is, any of that stuff. It does not matter at all if you do not have the right fit on the head of the bolt. If you do not have the right fit, it's only going to strip out, and all that torque is not going to do anything for you. You need to use the right tool, and that is the first step to removing anything stuck. More often than not, when you have a stuck rusty bolt, it's actually stuck between the head of the bolt and the surface that it's contacting. The threads are usually okay. So what we have here is a carriage bolt, which has 3 nuts on it, and I'm going to be demonstrating why it's important to use the right tool and why it's important to use the correct size tool, especially ones that are rusted on or stuck or have been there a while. What we have here is a brand new bolt, and it has 3 nuts on it, so there's no rust, corrosion, or anything on there. And we're going to torque these down as hard as I can get them, and they're either going to break the tool, break the bolt, or strip the nut. We're going to start out using the correct size and using a 12-pointed box end wrench. So we're going to tighten this down as far as I can get it to go, and something is going to give eventually. Maybe the bolt will strip, I don't know, but we'll find out. Well, there we go. A little bit more and you can see what happened. With the correct size tool, I actually got enough torque on there to end up breaking the bolt in half. And that's what we want. Well, we don't want the bolt to break in half, but we want enough torque so we know that we can get the nut free without stripping it out. So that's what happens if you use the correct size tool. Here we have a bolt and a nut. As you can see, there's a little bit of rust on here. It's a pretty old bolt. We'll flip it over to the open side. And this bolt isn't really stuck on there very much, so it's still going down nicely. And that's because we have the correct size on here. Now we'll switch over to the incorrect size, which gives us a whole extra lot of slop in there. And that's something we definitely do not want. It will start to spin, but eventually, when this bolt gets caught up on something, we're just rounding off the head of that bolt. And with the correct size tool, we can free it up. We can actually get the nut to move back and forth. If you round it off too far, a neat little trick you can do is take a file and file down a couple of sides and bump it down to the next size. If you're going to anticipate a problem taking the bolt off to begin with, you should probably get the torch out and just heat it up if it's safe to do so. Obviously you don't want to do this around a gas tank, around fuel lines, around things that could melt or be damaged or warped. But if it's safe to do so, just heat up the head of the bolt a little bit, and that helps a tremendous amount. So what I like to do is I like to take the torch here, heat it up a little bit, so that way it expands, it breaks itself free a little bit, and after it cools down, I can spray a little WD-40 penetrating oil, some sort of lubricant on it, and that kind of seeps in there, and then it's really easy to break free. Using vice grips will work on a stripped bolt head, but do not use it on a nut. The reason being is because when you're using vice grips, you're pinching in on something, and all you're doing on this nut here is actually compressing it farther onto the bolt. So that's just going to create more work for you. It's going to make it more difficult. Even though you can now grab it, it's just going to make it harder to take it off. So that's something I would definitely avoid.